Plan A is a very interesting brand name. So why not Plan B? Plan
When I was starting the company, I spent close to a year educating myself about climate change. And what I found out quite quickly was that there really was no plan B. Climate change was going to be such a big issue if not tackled properly for businesses, for our society, for governments. So this is where the name came from. And I also decided to actually look up what shows up on photos when you Google the name, when you do use a search engine of any kind, actually.
Yes.
And Plan A or plana in Spanish means flat land. So I would always see these beautiful flat lands. So essentially, that was also another reason why I decided it was a good idea to call it like that.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey to founding the Plan A, and what was your aha moment, and how did you come up with the idea to found the Plan A?
So I have always been in my career in finance. I was in investment banking, then I was in VC, then I worked in fintech. So went through my own transition to move from the corporate to the entrepreneurship sphere. And in 2016, I found myself wanting to change, but also simultaneously with that, I also was on this serendipitous trip where I was able to experience the impacts of human action on our planet. I went on a trip to Morocco. I was supposed to be surfing there, ended up cleaning beaches instead of surfing. And after this event, I went back to London, and I really was absolutely obsessed with the idea of wanting to understand what is my impact on the planet. And through this investigation, I read a lot of scientific papers. I spoke to a lot of people, and quite quickly I found out that there was a lot of evidence that was showing that people had a lot of impact on our planet. And our planet was actually not healthy anymore, and things were only getting worse. So for this reason, I decided to start experimenting. The first thing that I did was build a data model that would look into the worst performing environmental indicators, and then on the other hand, at the funding that was going into addressing them. And then the second experiment was to interview 300 people. After all of this, there was enough evidence and enough knowledge that I had gathered that gave me the feeling that I should build my own company that would have the focus to really use this scientific knowledge to then help businesses to define their pathway to become more sustainable.
You're wearing so many hats, right? Plan A, Grand Tech Alliance, Obama leader, what else? And how do you deal with all this job and prioritize when dealing with multiple tasks at the same time?
My main and most important hat is Plan A. I spent all of my time working on that. The Green Tech Alliance is an NGO that we set up 2 years ago with the aim to support businesses that are actively developing technology to fight against climate change, to have access to visibility, capital, expertise. And what came after this experience was now a community of more than 2,000 startups. I spent a lot of my free time mentoring and supporting these companies in any way that I can, but also we have people working in the community to do this full time. And then the other labels that you mentioned, big honors that I have as an Obama leader. I'm one out of 30 people that have been selected for this year for Europe as people that, first of all, went through a leadership course together with the Obama Foundation, but also are recognized for their commitment to social impact. And the rest is essentially kind of always a function of Plan A and the work that I do with my company. And maybe just going to your question about how do I prioritize, the main thing that really is our focus at Plan A is supporting businesses and helping them build a plan on how they can transition from where they are today to becoming sustainable and then eventually hitting net zero. For this, the priority is always really understanding their needs, working with their challenges, and then helping them use our technology. And then my maybe not even second priority, but another priority that I have is really to mentor as many companies and individuals as possible, because I do believe that all the knowledge and expertise and network that I've gathered should not only sit with me, but also with others that can benefit from it.
What problems are you serving now?
I think the biggest problem that we're addressing with our software is decarbonizing businesses. So at this point, we've achieved between 7 and 9% decarbonization on an annual basis, which is quite significant. We work with companies like BMW and also Société Générale. We have a lot of fast scaling startups and companies from all around the world. And they don't always find it easy to act on sustainability because this is a new topic for many. It requires you to gather a lot of data. It also expects you to have at least some sort of knowledge. And for this reason, we really focus on taking them through this journey of assessment, planning for improvement, and then reporting. And this obviously is a cycle going forward and forward. And this is ultimately the focus that we have with all of the activities that we have within Plan A. In terms of the software itself, we prioritize the problems that our businesses have related to data processing, because obviously this is the first step after which you're only able to make a plan. And the priority is really to make people feel empowered about the work that they do in sustainability in their particular company.
How do you make money? What is your business model? Please explain how the business model works step by step.
The software as a service model is usually on an annual basis. For Plan A, this is on an annual basis. So companies can subscribe for 1 year, at least, using our software. What this means is that they have to pay an annual fee. And essentially, depending on the amount of features that they want to use, the amount of users that they want to bring on board on the platform, they essentially pay more or less. And the way the product pricing is structured is on a modular level, because we have different modules on the platform. For some businesses, they really want to go deep in assessing their emissions associated to their suppliers. For other businesses, it's about their portfolio, if they're investors. For others, it's about events, because maybe they organize a lot of events. We have all these different options, and depending on what they decide to use, we charge them a particular fee that is paid for on an annual basis.
Let's talk a little bit about fundraising. I understand the Plan A raised quite a bit of money from the outside investor, right? How much did you raise from outside investor? And I often feel entrepreneurs are very focused on the meeting with the new investor, and they're ready to jump in the sales pitch without much strategy and researches. For your information, my background is finance. What do you think? Do you have any lesson learned or advice to share with the young entrepreneur?
So thank you so much for this question. I think it's a really important one. So Plan A so far has raised over 17 million, and we're going to announce another funding round soon. And our focus has been on bringing on board investors that we trust are knowledgeable about the problem that we're solving, but also capable of helping us scale the operations that we have. We have famous investors like SoftBank, other prominent investors like HV Capital. This is a European VC. And we have also others that are from the UK and other places. Before we took money from anyone, we actually spent close to 2 years doing research and development of the product, and also a lot of trialing with different clients. That was not necessarily sales, but really understanding what problem we needed to solve for these businesses and how we were able to help them on being really at the forefront of addressing these issues that they need to, because there's a lot of legislation that now has been popping up. There's a lot of reports that need to be prepared. And ultimately, there's quite a lot of emissions that need to be reduced in any business. So we took a bit of a different approach. We actually spent a lot of time doing research, doing strategy, and then aligning this to the possibilities that we had for funding and selecting eventually investors that we really thought were applicable to what we were building and what our vision was.
What is the biggest challenge in the scaling the business? I understand the company business grows and then move into the different stage, and then you need to deal with the new challenge as well, right?
Building a business is quite of a complex task. You have a lot of different stakeholders that you need to align. You need to build a team that normally starts from scratch because you don't have 10 people that you can just bring on board overnight. There's funding that you need to find. There's also a right model that you need to seek to establish. So all of these things need to be thought about simultaneously, and it has not always been easy for us to build the product that we have at hand. I think the main challenges in founding a business is, first of all, to really have the consistency that even when things are absolutely unclear, you can continue, because there will be eventually a moment when you have this aha moment that gives you clarity on how you can move forward and how you can actually build something that is scalable. Another challenge is finding the people that you can build this with. I think I've been really lucky since the beginning to be with people that are incredibly passionate about sustainability. They really want to solve the business problem. And at the times when we started the business, sustainability was not that big of a topic for many businesses, but also for the governments. And it took an extra effort and an extra enthusiasm to be able to kick this off. And finally, and definitely not with least importance, sits the topic of resourcefulness. I think the main challenge that I've noticed in some individuals building businesses is, how do you find solutions for problems constantly without getting tired? Being resourceful means thinking constantly creatively of how you can solve a problem when you're strapped on money, when you don't have enough resources like people, like time, like also a lot of knowledge sometimes on certain domains. Being resourceful means tapping into your network, tapping into different channels that maybe are not the most obvious ones.
A lot of entrepreneurs say a business need a different skill set and talents going through the different stage of business growth, right? How do you deal with this issue? Are you trying to transforming existing employee, moving into the new stage of your business, or prefer to hire new talents, or doing both? I think this is a very interesting topic because I have been in the finance business last 30 years in Asia. I mean, in the beginning, long time ago, a lot of conglomerate, large company, they just hired the young, fresh college graduate and then train them and then work with them in the lifetime. That was a popular model, but now is a business environment that quickly changing, right? So also the even large company or conglomerate, when they move into expand into new market with a new product, we assume that they don't have internal, the employee or talent who have, they don't have the right experience with those new market and new products. So I think it's a very important deal with the human resource cost or in terms of talent. So I think I want to hear your insight about this issue.
Really good question, and an incredibly important one. There's a lot of different skill sets that you need, and at the different stages of the business, these are not always applicable at the same structure or at the same position. We have been incredibly respectful as a company to loyalty, and I think it's really unusual in the startup sphere, because there's even companies that say that you need to fire fast and really get rid of, I want to use like a harsh word, from the people that maybe you don't need anymore. I don't believe in this, because I think you can retrain people, or you can help them scale into the next phase of their career, and allow them to be this person that has a lot of knowledge on the company, that is applicable to multiple jobs, and now maybe this job is more applicable because of the phase of the company. We're constantly adding new people to the team, so what I just said always comes in combination with adding new set of skill sets, new set of experiences, but also with respect to this loyalty element, because we've had salespeople since the beginning, we've had science people since the beginning, and maybe the mathematical challenges that they need to solve are different, yet they are these experienced people that have knowledge of the domain of sales, the domain of science. So we work with the focus on having both, with the knowledge that this is the only way you can build a company that lasts, rather than just a company that you scale, sell, and then you're out.
Let's move into fire questions. So let me ask you a question. You can answer me with the short answers. What is your favorite book and why?
My favorite book is Ministry of the Future by Kim Stanley Robinson. This is a book that, in a really positive way, but also quite quirky, explains how the future looks. And it gives away a vision that gives you comfort that we still have a chance to address climate change. It is based on social science, on history, and people classify it as hardcore science, kind of hard science fiction book. It is, in a way, climate fiction. It tells the story of how the future can look, and it portrays a society that is able to address the problem that we have at hand at the moment, which obviously, as my job defines, is most prominent in our society, and that is climate change.
Gotcha. Let me take a chance to read your book you just recommended. Are you for or against the remote work? Well, going through the pandemic, I understand the people, company, they're open-minded to having a remote work system. Still a lot of challenges. Try and error. Some large international conglomerate, they started a very ambitious remote work system, but they cancel it. I know that a lot of youths out there. So are you for or against the remote work, and why for that? Your opinion.
I'm actually for hybrid mode. So I think it's really good to have both the remote option, but also the option to work from the office.
Yes.
Planning has offices in Paris, London, Berlin, and Munich. So we do offer people the option for them to be in a physical space if they cannot work from home. Maybe they have children and it's too loud. Maybe they have construction work outside of their house and they need to change the scene. Maybe they just don't want to work from the same place where they sleep. So this is something that we offer. But on the other hand, we've become, especially after COVID, really flexible in the sense that we don't expect people to be on daily basis in the office or for a certain amount of hours, because maybe by now they've developed habits that make them feel uncomfortable with the idea that they come in the office at 9 and then they need to leave at 5. Maybe they actually prefer to be in the office at 11 because they just did some sports in the morning, or they want to be in the office at 7, but they want to leave at 4 because they want to spend some time with their family. So we offer the flexibility of the hybrid mode. We have the offices, but people can work from home whenever they want.
What is the one thing you want to change most in the startup ecosystem?
There's a lot of things I would love to change in the startup ecosystem. The first one is the importance of people. At the moment, there's a lot of scaling up fast and then scaling down fast, as we've seen now with the economic situation that we're in. And I don't think this is really the best approach. That is not to say that you should not scale fast, but that is to say that you need to respect the fact that people have gone through an interviewing process. You've also skilled them up so that they're applicable to the job that you have hired them for. And what this means is that you really need to respect this talent and give them also the confidence that they can be with you in times when maybe things are not as rosy. I am with a really risk-seeking mindset, and I think you need to have this kind of mindset if you're building a startup. But I also appreciate people, and I respect the fact that in our company, we have hundreds of people who have decided to work for us instead of for someone else. So for this reason, I prefer a startup ecosystem that respects people a bit more, because there's just been a lot of cases of hiring, firing, and that I don't think is really great. A second thing I would like to change is funding that goes to women. Unfortunately, women are still not funded well, and there's still a stereotype that women are building startups only for femtech, for health tech, or for fashion tech, which is not true. Women are building really complex deep tech products like the one that I'm building, but also they're working on hardware, they're working on other types of solutions that maybe are not so familiar. So I think just destroying the stereotype and spending more money on supporting women would be something I would love to see happen.
Who is the nicest person you have ever met in your life, and why? Except for your family member, please.
This is a wonderful question. This is a wonderful question. I've met so many nice people, and honestly, my journey would have never been the same if it was not for the hundreds, honestly, people that have taken a chance on me, opened the door when we were not famous, when we didn't have any visibility, when the company hadn't had the product. And I'm so appreciative of so many of them, all the people that have organized the startup competitions that we've won, my mentors that have been there, including also my family, and also the people that are now, for example, in my team, but also the people that are supporting us as investors. Honestly, building a startup is really a people game. You really need to be mindful that your success is never going to be as big if you don't open up your success to others. And that goes vice versa. When I was not in a very mature stage of my business, people that were in a mature stage of their business were helping me. On the opposite side, now that I can give back by mentoring people, I do this all the time. So with this in mind, I wouldn't feel comfortable just selecting one person.
Gotcha. Okay, let's finish it today with a big picture. What is next 5 years for you and your vision for Plan A?
Just by the end of this year, Plan A is going to be close to 200 people. We're going to be across multiple continents, and the vision that spans down to 5 years goes significantly beyond, not only on a geographical level, but also I would say on a problem-solving level. We aim within the next 5 years to be on average reducing 20% emissions on a yearly basis for each one of our clients. And only this year we've been able to experience 100 times increase month over month of the amount of CO2 and other types of KPIs that are measured on the platform. So that shows the sheer scale with which we're aiming to achieve that. We are looking in particular to enable businesses to become advocates for sustainability themselves. At the moment, many businesses rely on us to learn about sustainability. We hope that within these 5 years, we would empower others to really be at the forefront of their own industry, defining the success for their own community, but also for their peers as well.
Okay, I finished all the questions. So thank you so much for taking time to be on the show, share your story with the Plan A. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, David, for having me.